Good evening everyone and welcome to Hitbullseye. The topic that we are going to discuss in this live is going to be para summary questions. So you must be aware that this is one of the most important types of questions in your CAT exam. If I have to discuss the CAT verbal section pattern with you, if we just discuss the VARC section, you know you get 24 questions and 40 minutes for this particular section. If we further see the areas that you see questions from in this section, the first one, as you know, is RC. You will get 16 questions from RC, 4 passages, 4 questions each. Of sentence rearrangement or para-jumble questions, you will get 3 questions. From misfit, you get 2 questions. Last time, though we did not have misfit question, there was a new question type, that is fit the sentence in right blank in a given paragraph. So a sentence was given to you in the question and followed by a paragraph with, let's say, 4 to 5 blanks at different spots. You had to find out the right place where you can fit that sentence without distorting the coherence of that paragraph. So we do not know, this time we may get misfit questions or that para completion sentence also. And the last type is para summary questions. 3 from this. So these 5 questions are theta question, type and typeable answer, for which you get no option and therefore no negative marking, which seems to be a nice choice that you should go for. But like if I talk about the sentence rearrangement question, it takes some time to, arrange those sentences, and you never know because you don't have any option to tally or get double sure about your answer. But that is not the case with para summary question, and that is the reason it is one of the favorite choice of students to go for. So there are different ways of strategizing the paper. We all know this paper is not about attempting all the question. It's about the accuracy, and with a good speed you need to attempt maximum question you can, and those should be the correct ones. So don't fall for the wrong choices. Now, to further understand the importance of this section, because I believe that's very important before we move on with para summary question, we need to know the importance of this. Let's say you are a beginner and in average you take 10 minutes to do one particular RC. So one RC has 4 questions, right? If you do it in 10 minutes, one RC, you would take 40 minutes to do all the 4 RCs, and your time's up. You don't have any more time to, even to look at the other questions. So what I have seen in many students, they would do 2 RCs and would try to wind it up in 8 to 9 minutes, and then they would move on to either misfit question or para summary question. Para summary because they have options in it. And in this, if now we understand this particular question and what kind of approach does it demand from you. 1, its nature is that of RC only. 2, just like in RC, it can be based on different subject areas. It can be an excerpt from an article, an editorial, can be from a short story, can be from fiction, it can be based on some technological advancement. So it can be based on anything. What you need to make sure of is, out of those 4 options, you have to select one which not just justify the whole paragraph, it more or less concludes that paragraph. So quickly understanding the paragraph, summarizing in your own words, in your mind, taking care of what is the tone of this passage, is he criticizing something in that, is he supporting it. So understanding the tone also, the author's feeling or attitude towards it, and aptly sufficing it whole. That is the one option you have to go with. So you will definitely find close contenders because this is CAT exam. We can all expect that, though these questions come in other exams also, but the difficulty level, if you compare, it's comparatively more in CAT exam. So the options will be close contender. You will see the keywords in more than one option. But then you need to eliminate, differentiate, and if you are left with 2 choices, go with the best one, which takes into consideration the tone also, the conclusion also. So we will practice it with some of the questions. What is to follow is one actual CAT paper question that I have picked from previous year, slot 1, and some practice questions. So I hope with this awareness, you're going to approach these questions even more carefully. So you're free to drop in your answers, but before that, let's see what para-summary questions are. A short article or a paragraph from a larger text is excerpted and given to you in the exam. It can be based on diverse topic, and you are supposed to find its crux or summary. So it tests one's logic and reasoning skills also. It tests the test that you can see the questions in are CAT exam and XAT exam. Relatively, it's more difficult in CAT exam. So XAT exam, I believe, is the exam that everyone aims. Once you're done with your CAT exam, you would definitely go for it to keep your second and third choices. And anywhere where CAT exam can lead you, the XAT exam can do the same. Right? With this, let us see a question which appeared in the paper last year. Let me quickly read the direction for you. The direction is as it is picked from the paper. The passage given below is followed by 4 alternate summaries. Choose the option that best captures the essence of the passage. Capture the essence, which means the main idea. Essence is the main idea. I'm going to give you some time. Quickly go through this on your own, and then I'll quickly read it, and we will see what we can do about this one. What can be the right answer. Take your time, quickly go through this. It's an actual question that came last year. So I believe you would have had a glance over it. If you want to take more time, you may pause the video, read the passage on your own. But it's time that I should read it for you quickly. Let me just select the pen. So petitioning is an expeditious democratic tradition. Now the key word. You would come across words which you would find difficult, but then sometimes knowing their meaning will change the game. So democratic tradition used frequently in prior centuries by which citizens can bring issues directly to the governments. And as expressions of collective voice, they support procedural democracy by shaping agendas. So what is the main thing that is being discussed here? We are discussing this petitioning thing. So that even before the democracies came in their full form, petitioning was something that was there. And if you can see and understand from the first line itself, the passage is pro-petitioning. It's supporting this practice by people, by citizens. Collectively, they would raise their voices and raise their opinions. So they can also recruit citizens to causes, give voice to the voteless, and apply the discipline of rhetorical argument that clarifies a point of view. By contrast, elections are eliminated. Now look at this, by contrast. So the first half discussed what petitioning is in a democratic country, or what it had been, or has been, we can say. And by contrast, elections are limited in several respects. They involve only a few candidates and thus fall far short of a representative democracy. Further, voters' choices are not specific to particular policies or laws, and elections are episodic, whereas the voice of people needs to be heard and integrated constantly into democratic government. So, what did we observe from the passage? Again, before moving on to the option choices, you have to contemplate over this. You have to understand and introspect what is this passage or the author trying to say, and how is he concluding the passage. Is he very much against something or favoring something? So one thing is clear, he's been favoring this practice of petitioning that was seen in democracies, and it may or may not be continued now, but the notion that he contrasted it with was the elections, the typical kind of election that we see in democracy today. It lacks this aspect that petitioning actually had, because you don't get too many choices to elect from. It wasn't the same earlier. You would select or eliminate a candidate as per your choice, right? And you could voice your arguments also. By rhetorical argumentation, you could persuade the people who are governing your country. And then you are already given some of the reason why elections fall short of actually being democratic. There are different reasons, like their nature is episodic and the voice of people can be heard and integrated constantly into democratic government. So what we can do to make our democracies more able, more apt, a suggestion is given by the end of the passage. I hope we have all understood the passage. You may pause the video, read it once again. Let's now move on to the option choices. So as you can see, understanding the passage was still relatively easy, but you would find the choices a little tricky. If I read the first one for you, petitioning is definitely more representative of the collective voice, and the functioning of democratic government could improve if we relied more on petitioning rather than holding periodic elections. So more or less the phrases used here, the words used here, they were all given in the passage, and this is how CAT exam lays a trap for you. So this can be a good choice, I would say, more or less talking about everything. Moving on to the B one. Citizens become less inclined to petitioning as it enables vocal citizens to shape political agendas, but this needs to change to strengthen democracies today. So as you can see, it is clearly against petitioning. Citizens become less inclined to petitioning as it enables vocal citizens to shape political agenda. What is this point saying? It's saying that people get less inclined towards petitioning. Why? Because it may shape political agenda. This is directly contrasting what was given in the passage. So this is one such option which you can easily eliminate. By giving citizens greater control over shaping political and democratic agendas, political petitions are invaluable. Can we say that? Did author anyway showed you that he's not favoring petitions? No, he was not. So again, even without reading it completely, we can easily say we are going to eliminate this one also. Now you're left with two choices. Let's read the last one. Petitioning has been important to democratic functioning, which is true, as it supplements the electoral process by enabling ongoing engagement with the government. So what do you think the right answer should be? This one is also favoring petition. This one is also favoring petition. But can you find out that slight difference between the 2 points and choose the right one? This is where people get stuck and waste a lot of time. Come on now, drop in your answers, everyone. Should it be A or D? And then I'll tell you that slight difference between the two, which makes them one of them the apt choice. Drop in your answers, everyone. Come on, there is no negative marking in this. We are simply learning how to do para-summary questions. Let's see who's going to be the first one to answer this question. I've already reduced the choices for you. It's just 2 choices. Right, so I think we should discuss it now. Now, what is the difference between A and D? Both are saying that petition is important for democratic functioning. Oh, wonderful. I can see one response from Manoj, and that is absolutely right. Congratulations. D is the right answer. I'm going to show you the difference why it is the right answer. So both are talking about petitioning. This one is also saying that petitioning is definitely more representative, just as a democratic government is more representative. And the functioning of democratic government could improve. That is also true. So if we rely on petitioning, it will improve the governance. But look at this. Rather than holding periodic elections, this last part of this option gets a little problematic because author did not directly say that you should altogether eliminate the election process, right? So this goes way beyond. This is an extreme case because we are talking about replacing election and putting petitions instead of those. It wasn't about this. The author simply mentioned some of the factors or characteristics of petitions and then said that it should be integrated into our democratic system. But it shouldn't be, replacing electoral process. This makes D the best choice. A balanced one. petitioning has been important to democratic functioning as it supplements, look at this, it doesn't replace. It supplements the electoral process by enabling ongoing engagement with the government. And this is what a real democracy is. I hope this question is clear, though it would look tricky, if you look at it for the first time, but if you read it carefully, you'll get to see the answer. With this, let's move on to our next question. So, which of the following best summarizes the paragraph given here? Let's read it quickly. In order to communicate effectively with other people, one must have a reasonably accurate idea of what they do and do not know that is pertinent to the communication. So everything related to that topic of communication, you should make sure as a speaker that how much the other person knows about that thing or how much he doesn't know. See, it goes two way. If he already knows everything, there is no point of you discussing it. If he doesn't know anything about it, then whatever you are saying would sound very foreign to that person, very strange to that person. So let's see what he's further talking about. So you've understood the subject area and what he's going to talk about. He's going to talk about effective communication and how we can facilitate it. Treating people as though they have knowledge that they do not have can result in miscommunication and perhaps embarrassment also for you and for the other person, right? On the other hand, a fundamental rule of conversation, at least according to Grecian view, is that one generally does not convey to others information that one can assume they already have. So look at the smart author of this passage, smart writer. What he has done in this passage, he's just given you factors which can, distort your purpose of communication. So either talking too much about something that the other person doesn't know at all about, and the second thing, if he already knows everything about it, you would again seem foolish talking about it. But he did not tell us what a communication should actually be like. Now here comes our critical reasoning, because he has given us enough hint to infer that what he is saying, what kind of communication should there be. You have to draw inference conclusion here. Let's see the options now. Let us see what answer are you going to select for this one. I have so well justified or explained the passage to you that you would easily find out the answer to this one. Chalo, let's read the options now. The first one says, clear communication means to assume the audience has enough knowledge of the subject or the communication may be inhibited by either confusion or offense. Is that right? No, that's not. It is saying something which is contrary to the passage. That audience has enough knowledge. First, it was not directly given to us. This can be one answer, but it was not directly backed by the facts given in the passage. Let's just keep it for a choice for now. Second, seems a quite lengthy one. Miscommunication happens. Now this is your first hint. Didn't I tell you in the whole passage he has worked so smartly? Intricately he mentioned what kind of miscommunications can there be. But did he tell us by the end of the passage what a good communication is? No, he did not. And that is the reason we will go only with those options which are talking about miscommunication. Because he himself did not tell us what a good communication is. But this one is about clear communication. We can clearly eliminate this one. Miscommunication happens when we assume people have knowledge when they don't have. That is true. It was given in the passage. Hence, if there is to be effective communication, one needs to know what people know and what they do not. As even communicating what is already known is against the basic rule of conversation. As I broke the passage into two parts and discussed the two factors he has mentioned, Similarly, this option B is justifying both of those factors. Either the person knowing everything, the other person, or either he doesn't know anything about it. In both ways, it's gonna be a miscommunication. So yes, this is a good choice. Let's keep it. Conveying what people already know causes embarrassment, and hence miscommunication occurs as we do not take into account the fact that people do not know what needs to be known. Now, what is this particular option doing? As such, there is nothing wrong in option C, but it misses out on the second point. It did discuss that, conveying something to people which they already know about would cause embarrassment. That is perfectly right. But this is supposed to be a para summary. It should justify the whole passage. It did not mention about the communication with those people, those who are completely unaware of what the communication is going about. Right? Because it doesn't talk about the second thing, we're going to eliminate it. Accurate knowledge of what is known and not known helps in better understanding and communicating what is already known, emphasizes the knowledge of the person better. So what did he do in this one? Let's see if you can drop in the answers from B and D, and then I'll tell you. It's all about the approach, students. It's all about you communicating to yourself, introspecting over the option choices, and looking for the keywords. So yes, the examiner would do this. He would give you one such choice, the half of which is absolutely correct, the first half. Accurate knowledge of what is known and not known helps in better understanding. And this is perfectly fine, up to the comma. And communicating what is already known emphasizes the knowledge of the person better. The second part is not backed by enough facts from the passage. If you are communicating about something which is already well known, there is no point of discussing it any further, and least to talk about it emphasizing further on the knowledge. So we can eliminate this one. Answer should be B, which takes into consideration almost all the factors that were discussed in the passage and isn't actually taking any inferences here. So you remember when I was discussing the passage, I talked about our critical reasoning, us finding out the inferences, the inferences are hidden conclusions. But this is para summary. So you have to go with one such option which strictly adheres to the given fact of the passage, and that is B. With this, let's see the last question for today. Quite a lengthy one. Quickly go through this one. So if I may read it for you. Experts have long recognized the perils of biological and cultural extinction, but they've only just begun to see them as different facets of the same phenomena and to tease out the myriad ways in which social and natural systems interact. So here, as you can see, he has compared two of the approaches to our society, two of the approaches, subjects, or you can say sections. The first one is biological, second is cultural. So here he wants that we should be considering biological extinctions and cultural extinctions as two different entities or approaches or phenomena. So biological is when one species get extinct. Cultural is when we lose our cultural values, our tradition over the time, they are transformed into some other ways. And that is true. We have seen it from ages that our culture keep changing, right? It keeps updating. So he's saying that we should not mix these two fields or areas of study to study the human, to study the environment. Rather, we should understand them distinctively. So this is what the whole passage is going to be about. So, but they've only just begun to see them as different facets. Who are they here? They are the experts. So now finally the expert have started seeing these as two different facets of the same phenomena and to tease out the myriad ways in which myriad is multiple, varied ways in which social and natural systems interact. Catalyzed in part by the urgency that climate change has brought to all matters environmental two progressive movements incubating already for decades have recently emerged into fuller view. So why did this happen? Why have now experts started seeing these two as different things? Because of the climate change. So climate change has proved to be a catalyst. It made us to probe into this phenomena and consider them as two different facets of the same thing. Joining natural and social scientists from a wide range of disciplines and policy arenas, these initiatives are today working to connect the dots between the ethnosphere and biosphere in a way that is rapidly leaving behind old unilateral approaches to conservation. So earlier we had unilateral, that is one directional approach toward the conservation, be it conservation of our ethics, our culture, our tradition, or be it the preservation or the conservation of the climate also. But it is climate change that made us realize this thing, that these are two different creeds. So as you can see, he's time and again using these two words. Here he has used biosphere and ethnosphere related to humans and the culture they follow. Here he used biological and cultural, and then there was one more which is different facets of the same urgency, that these matter. Okay, so yeah, it was this only, biological and cultural. Let's complete the passage now. Efforts to stanch extinctions of linguistic, cultural and biological life have yielded a bicultural perspective that integrates the three. Efforts to understand the value of diversity in a complex system framework have matured into a science of resilience. So we need to be resilient in this, in our approaches toward these things, as though yes in a network, but as something to be considered as different phenomena. Right, I hope it is now clear more or less what was the passage about. It talked about the social, yes, there it is, the social and natural system. So he just talked about the changes that we see in social and natural system and how we have been approaching it, and why have we changed our approach now. Why do we consider them as two facets of the same phenomena, and how it was climate change that proved to be a catalyst for us to do so. And by the end of the passage, he's taken into consideration a third factor, a third branch you can say, which is linguistic. Right, let's see now the summaries. There you go. Choose the correct summary here. Yes, let's see who's going to answer this question now. I'm waiting for your responses. Let us see who's going to answer this one. Let's read the options. So see, in the first reading, I would say it would seem puzzling, but if you probe deeper and try to understand the points, you would definitely come to one answer. The first says, the long established need of dealing with biological and cultural extinctions unilaterally has finally been met with a common framework having evolved that deals with extinction issues by using the science of resilience. Can you see that how wrong this option is? He is saying that we have finally come to a unilateral approach to consider these two things as one, which is completely against the passage. Look at this. He himself is saying that the long established need for dealing with these two branches or extinctions unilaterally is finally now met. So it's completely against the argument that author did put forward in the passage. B. The coming together of natural and social scientists has been finally able to evolve a viewpoint that necessitates the use of science of resilience to deal with issues of biological and cultural extinction. Again coming together, No, rather they are differentiating, rather they are approaching both the things individually and in combination if required. So again we can say this is the wrong choice. And look at this, he would play smartly with you again and again using the term or the phrase signs of resilience. So he would simply pick up the points like this. The third one, the assimilation of the biological and cultural viewpoints on extinction exacerbated by global warming has brought about an integrated viewpoint to deal with the serious conservation issues. Now this is what we call the right choice. So he's talked about this global warming aspect because climate change was something that was laid emphasis on in the passage and no other option talked about it. So yes, it has finally brought in an integrated viewpoint to deal with these conservation issues. The gradual merger of the biological and cultural viewpoint on extinction has led to a situation where a homogeneity of thought has evolved on dealing with all issues related to the ethnosphere and biosphere. No, there is no homogeneity, rather now we have allowed some heterogeneity, I would say. So the only answer that we are left with is C. So see, this is how it can be tricky. If we talk about the CAT exam, yes, the options can be a little tricky, can be a little verbose, there can be difficult jargon in it. But even if you do not know the meaning of each and every word, but if you try to understand the gist of first the passage, then the option, you would definitely come to one answer. Right, so that was all for this live. I wish you all the best with these kind of questions and their practice. So if you practice enough questions of para summary, I'm pretty sure those 3 marks, you will definitely score it and you will definitely get the edge over the other students. If you like the video, do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe it. And if there are any suggestions that you want us to come up with any such lives, we would be more than glad to do that. Thank you. Keep smiling, keep studying, and always believe in yourself.